In the shadow of the planet Virus, deep within the black expanse of space, a lone alien ship drifted. It was a sleek, insectoid vessel, its dark, shimmering exoskeleton reflecting the scattered starlight like 1,000 tiny diamonds. Inside, Zha'ra, a member of the Tzarat, stood in tense silence. Her long, delicate antennae twitched nervously as she stared at the controls before her. Her mission had been simple: find the human, study him, and return to report her findings. The humans were a young species, still in their infancy compared to the ancient races of the galaxy, but their potential was undeniable. Zha'ra had been chosen for this assignment because of her expertise in understanding new life forms, but there was something about this particular mission that made her uneasy. Zha'ra had encountered humans before, briefly, in passing. She knew they were dangerous, unpredictable, and, above all, fascinating. But she had never been this close, never spent so much time alone with one. From what she had gathered, humans were not just warriors or scientists. They were driven by an insatiable curiosity. She was about to experience it firsthand. The human in question was a soldier, stranded on an uncharted moon. His ship had crashed, and Zha'ra had tracked him for weeks, following his movements with the precision of an expert hunter. Now, her ship was within range, and she could sense his presence below. "Preparation complete," she whispered to herself, glancing at the control console. With a deep breath, she opened a small hatch in the belly of the craft, allowing the cold atmosphere of the moon's surface to flood in. She stepped into the icy, barren landscape. The planet was desolate, a stark contrast to the lush forests of her homeworld. Only the faintest light from a dying star bathed the barren terrain. She made her way toward the crash site, her heart racing as she approached the human. The human was kneeling by a wreckage, his back to her. Zha'ra took a step forward, but as her boot crunched against the rocky ground, the human turned sharply, his eyes widening in surprise. The human was tall, muscular, and covered in dirt and blood, the remnants of his fight for survival. His face was smeared with soot, and his clothes were torn, but there was an intensity in his gaze. Something primal, something that Zha'ra had not anticipated. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, sizing one another up. "You!" The human's voice cracked, but he quickly recovered. "You're not a predator." Zha'ra felt a jolt in her chest. "I am not," she replied, her voice calm and measured, despite the rising tension in her limbs. "I am here to observe, not to harm." The human slowly rose to his feet, his muscles tense, but he did not make any sudden movements. His eyes darted to the ground, then back to her, searching for something in her expression. Zha'ra felt her antennae flick nervously. The human's curiosity was palpable, and she knew that it would either be her salvation or her downfall. "You're not like the others," the human muttered, taking a step closer. "I've seen other alien species, but never one like you." Zha'ra held her ground. She had read about human reactions, but this was different. His expression wasn't one of fear or aggression, but of curiosity, the same feeling she had felt the moment she had set foot on this moon. "I am Zha'ra of the Tzarat," she said, introducing herself in the calmest tone she could muster. "I come in peace." The human's eyes widened at the mention of her species, and he stepped back, his hand instinctively reaching for the weapon holstered on his side. Zha'ra instinctively tensed, but she did not move. "No weapons," she said, her voice sharp. "I do not seek conflict." The human paused, his hand hovering over the gun. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then, with a soft grunt, he dropped his hand, allowing the weapon to hang loosely at his side. "All right," he said after a pause, his voice still wary but not hostile. I'm not going to shoot you. But you're not exactly the friendliest thing I've seen either. Zha'ra tilted her head slightly. What is it you expect from me? The human sighed, rubbing his face with his hand. I don't know. I thought you might well eat me. Or kill me. Or something. Zha'ra's antennae flicked in confusion. Why would I do that? The human hesitated, looking her over. You're not the first alien I've met. I've learned not to trust any of you. His mind raced. She had heard of the distrust humans had toward outsiders, but she hadn't expected it to be so deeply ingrained. She had no intention of harming him. But the fear in his eyes, so raw and immediate, struck her to the core. She took a slow step forward, keeping her hands visible to show that she meant no harm. I do not wish to harm you. I am merely studying you as you are studying me. The human's lips twisted into a dry smile. Studying me? You mean like an experiment? No, Zha'ra said quickly, her voice firm. Not an experiment. An observation. A gathering of knowledge. I seek to understand. The human seemed to think about this for a moment. His expression softening. I can respect that. We humans. Well, we're not the most trusting species, but we value knowledge. Zha'ra nodded, pleased by his response. She had hoped he would understand. The Tzarat were scholars at their core, dedicated to understanding the universe and the life within it. They did not conquer, they learned. But then, something in the human's expression shifted. A flicker of doubt crossed his features. Are you going to leave me here? He asked quietly. I don't have much left. My ship's gone, and I don't know if I can make it out of here on my own. Not with the storm coming. Zha'ra felt a pang of guilt. She had been so focused on her mission, so consumed with observation, that she had not considered the human's plight. He was stranded, alone, and clearly on the edge of survival. In that moment, she realized something that would change everything. No, she said firmly. I will not leave you. I will help you. The human's eyes widened, surprise and disbelief warring on his face. Help me. But why? Zha'ra hesitated, her antennae twitching as she chose her words carefully. Because it is the right thing to do. You may be a human, but you are still a being worthy of compassion. For the first time, the human's expression softened. I didn't think you'd say that. I've never met an alien who cared about me. About us. Zha'ra offered him a small, rare smile. Not all of us are the same. Not all of us are here to destroy. Together, they made their way to the remains of his ship, working in tandem to salvage what little they could from the wreckage. As the storm raged outside, they found shelter in a nearby cave, sharing stories of their respective worlds. By the time the storm passed, a bond had been forged between them, one not of fear but of mutual respect. Zha'ra had come to study the human, but she had found something far more profound. An ally, a companion, and perhaps the first step in bridging the gap between their species. As they departed the moon together, Zha'ra looked at the human, no longer a subject of study but a friend, and knew that the universe was a little less lonely. And she was no longer the observer. She was part of the story.